Hey everyone, this is Minejan and welcome back to another episode of Modernizing Biz podcast. On this episode, we have Malini with us from Deconstruct. Super excited for this conversation. Hey Malini, how are you doing?
Hi Manish, I've been good. Thanks so much for inviting me here. Looking forward for an interesting chat.
So Malini, how you land into a D2C? First of all, like D2C is happening a lot. In which year you landed into D2C in India?
So I think one thing is basically I have been in this industry. I've been in, I would say, D2C is a newer term for reaching the consumer. However, the product, which is your fast moving consumer products, this has been around for a while. So I have always been in FMCG and retail through my entire work experience. And I think like the real D2C happened when I started Deconstruct, because that's where, like, you are in direct touch with your consumer, because the earlier companies I worked with have been majorly in offline sector, so you talk to the consumer but not really so directly. So yeah, that's what I would say, been here all through.
So what do you love the most? Like, so there's like this debate is going on into the business world is like whether you should go offline, whether you should go online, or is it omni-channel? What's it like? What's you love the most? Being on field, or being on laptop, and then generating sales. E-commerce अच्छा है या offline अच्छा है as per you?
So I think I love being in touch with the consumer, right? Like, but basically, being on the field doesn't really give you access to the consumer, but e-commerce gives you access to the consumer. Kyunki, matlab, everything about them, and you can pick up a phone and like just do a call, and you are in touch with the consumer. But being on the field is a different thing. You are actually, like, talking to other set of consumers, that your retailers, or maybe directly meeting your end consumers. So I would say, to answer your question, I would love to be in touch with consumers in whichever way, so that talking to nothing is more educative than talking to the consumers. So whichever way I can talk to them, I would say.
Amazing. How deconstruct is going currently?
We've been doing very well. I mean, the idea when I started off is, saw that this entire, like, new age consumers coming up who are actually making decisions based on, a lot, reading a lot, after seeking a lot of information, reading reviews, peer reviews, right? So this is all like they're actually extracting a lot of knowledge and then making their decisions, right? Unlike the consumers earlier, ki matlab TV में ad देख लिए, शाहरुख खान ने promote कर लिया तो खरीद लेते हैं. So that's the major shift in how your consumers were buying before versus now. So I actually call it like India was an aspirational economy to now we are like a knowledge based economy. That's how I would like to call it. And the idea when we started off with Deconstruct was, can we make multiple brands, or can we make a house of brands for this knowledge economy consumer? So basically, Deconstruct is the first brand. Yes, skincare mein hai, but we do not want to stop here. The idea is ki, can we make multiple brands under this house of brands for this knowledge economy consumer, giving them a lot of educative content, and then helping them make that decision or the right purchase. So, I mean, overall, to answer your question, I think Deconstruct is in the right track with the vision we have developed with. And so, yeah, that's nothing more happier than that.
So before this podcast, we was chit chatting. Got to know that you're from IIT. So कभी सोचा that you're going to run a D2C firm, not working in a big tech company, like how it's going,
Uh,
how it's what do you have thought?
I think nothing more satisfactory. Because I have worked in big companies as well. I worked with PNG, I worked with Kraft Heinz, I had worked with Flipkart in its early days. I have seen that. So no FOMO there for sure. That's what I would say, because it, like, अगर वहाँ पे काम नहीं कर रही थी, then I would have probably would have felt that way. But no FOMO there. If you talk about paycheck, I think it's fine. Like, I think ultimately after a while, you just need to be excited every day, and that is it. That is what, like, makes you going. And I think I'm at my happy place right now. I love knowing about consumer and building products for them. So I think I've seen that world. But now I'm definitely, I would say, more happier and more content as a person, that I'm building this organization. I am building, I'm taking the learnings from that entire big tech firms I have learned, and I'm putting it here. We are a small company, but I think ethics and the vision and everything is exactly like that, like a big company.
Wow. So, talk about more the D2C market currently in India, right? A lot of brands are emerging. Since you talked about that, you launched into after COVID, right? So the scenario was pretty rough at that time, but scenario right now it's pretty smooth. A lot of new companies are here. A lot of let's say delivery vendors are good. Everything is smooth, right? So, what is the challenge that you think so you and a lot of D2C founders are currently facing in Indian market while building a brand?
Right. I would say, like, you said, right, like we started off in COVID, started off in February 2021, which was probably the second wave of COVID. Um so it was, so we've seen it evolve, like, from COVID to now what it is. I think both the times have, it's both merits and demerits, because I think though we started off in COVID, we saw really good growth, because I think a lot of people were actually at home and ordering from home. So for an online D2C brand, it was one of the best times, I would say, not the other way around, right? Like, because I think everyone adapted so brilliantly, like everyone, your partners, shipping partners, to your marketing teams, to your own internal teams, they've all adapted working from home. And uh, and then it was an advantage, because consumer was very involved in purchasing your product, and online business was booming. So that is what we saw to now, where consumer is as involved, but like utna time to nahi hai abhi, because they're going to offices, all of them are back to going to offices. So it thoda sa involvement kam hua hai in terms of adapting new products. However, they probably online business thoda sa offline move hua hai, and that is the reason why I think this omni channel approach becomes important. Like, for example, we have started right now offline stores in well, we are experimenting, because we were an online only brand, and offline requires a very different DNA. So हम बस चालू कर रहे थे, like, I mean, since like 3-4 months is where we were experimenting, in Bangalore city only, in multiple channels of offline. But if you ask me, the point is, demand moved from online to offline. However, and consumer involvement had reduced from COVID to now. But ease of doing business has become much easier. That's how I will put it.
Yeah. So, like, what's your plan? Let's take an example. You have thought somewhere that in next 5 years we're gonna go to, let's say, 50% offline, 50% online. What's your thought around it? And most importantly, what's the plan about the financials? Right. So that is the biggest challenge. When you go online, you have to launch your own stores. That's again a capital intensive plan. So, what are your thought of going in a sustainable manner and keeping the financials as well as the return on investments as well?
Sure. I think we would want to be as agile as possible. I think that is exactly what we want to be. We do not want to be stuck up like, okay, this is the plan, so we will go with this. That's exactly what the advantage of a young startup is versus an organization, right? Like, you give a 5 year plan banate hai, and they want to stick to that plan. But that's, I think, what we want to be first internally, be as agile as possible, as experimentative as possible, रीच आउट कंज्यूमर्स, मतलब एज आई टोल्ड यू, राइट, जब हम चालू कर रहे थे, नेवर थॉट कि ऑफलाइन इतना डिमांड मूव हो जाएगा. But right now demand has moved offline, and we have to adapt and say कि let's become an definitely, like, let's enter offline market. बस मतलब, the idea is कि consumer trends follow करते रहेंगे, and wherever consumer demand is coming from, we need to be agile enough. But as you rightly pointed it, capital becomes very important for any of this, especially offline के लिए तो capital और ज़्यादा important है. So thankfully we've been funded, venture capital funded, so that is what is kind of driving us, to take such kind of risks. We've gotten 2 rounds of funding, like around $2.5 million from Kalari Capital and B Next. So these two VCs, along with them, also a lot of angel investors, including Binny Bansal from Flipkart, who was probably like, that was my first organization, so he's also on board. So capital, we need to continue raising capital to take such risks, but thankfully we have some in hand right now. So we want to be agile, and जहाँ पे भी consumer है वहाँ मतलब we need to have the organization adapt to that. So that's the plan. 5 years में ऐसा नहीं है कि online रहेंगे कि offline रहेंगे. Like let's be agile and reach out to the consumer जहाँ पे demand है. That is the, I mean, that's what we want to do.
So that's the flexibility a lot of young brands have, right? I love the point that instead of making you, so basically you're not making a 5 year plan, you're planning for an year or 2 year, and then you're open to change as per the market. What's the what's the funding scenario, Malini, currently in India? Like, what do you think? So people love to raise funds from foreign companies, foreign VCs, or is there any fund in Indian market? Like, what's the scenario about
There
funding?
are multiple funds in the Indian market. I don't think we need to even look at foreign capital, because I think, I mean, at least see, again, personally, right? I would like to take it only from Indian VCs, because they understand the ecosystem, they understand your business. So you don't really invest a lot of time in educating them कि ये मतलब ये Indian market है तो ऐसे ही चलेगा, right? Like क्योंकि VCs are looking at multiple functional areas, right? Like multiple industries देख रहे हैं वो लोग. So a lot of times it becomes the owners goes on to the entrepreneur कि उनको दिखाना है कि अच्छा ठीक है ऐसे ही business चलेगा, because entrepreneurs at the end of the day are the experts in running the business. What VCs are giving you is the capital. So if it's an Indian entrepreneur, उनको समझाना, sorry, if it's an Indian VC, उनको समझाना easy हो जाता है. So that's why I prefer an Indian VC. However, at the end of the day, I think not a lot of us will have that option. Ki matlab, there are like 3 4 people wanting to put money in you. So wherever capital comes from, take it. It's capital at the end of the day.
Amazing. So now talking about more about deconstruct, what's the strategy? There's like a lot of big customers in skincare market and big competitors as well. Customer base भी अच्छा है but competitors भी बहुत सारे. You look at bigger brand like Ordinary है, and then there's ultra luxury brands also coming into the Indian market. People are willing to spend on luxury products as well. So what's your thought around it? What do you want to position deconstruct? Is it more affordable, all luxurious, or aspirational products? What's your strategy for positioning in Indian market currently?
So I think from a deconstruct perspective, or rather, I would probably talk about skincare or beauty and personal care. Before going into deconstruct, I think beauty and personal care. Everyone says there are multiple brands and it's super cluttered. I disagree to it. I don't think it's cluttered. There is we are very less with respect to penetration. We are still scratching the surface. That means there are a lot of these unexplored target groups जिनके लिए आप products बना सकते हो. So now at the end of the day, I look at it like business. Where is a white space, and is that target group big enough, and can I make a product at that price point? That's basically how I look at it. And when I look at it that way, yes, of course there are ultra luxury products, but वहाँ पे demand fully satisfied है कि नहीं है? That's the research you will have to do. नहीं, demand satisfied नहीं है, वहाँ पे एक और brand को opportunity है और वहाँ पे एक brand बनाना पड़ेगा. So when Deconstruct was born, I felt this was a white space where science based products की कमी थी market में, and lot of people were craving for products like that. And I felt mass premium pricing say, these are the customer groups who are like students, housewives who consume content online, or working women. So these were the ones who were fully convinced कि science based products use करना चाहिए, but there was no brands when we started Deconstruct 2.5 years ago. There were no brands catering to them. So इसीलिए we started Deconstruct, and these people are at a place where they can afford mass premium pricing. And that's the reason why we are also we play in that segment, and that's exactly how the products are made and how the packaging is also built. So it's all a strategy at the end of the day ki matlab where is your demand, what is your consumer looking like, and what can they afford, and can you make products suited for that to run a good meaningful PNL business.
Great. So, which was that time in your business? So every businesses go through this like this journey, right? So they see a stagnant graph, and then there is a sudden spike, right? So that sudden spikes. What's your reason for that? When you have seen that, is there any marketing campaign that went viral, or is there anything where then you understand that a bunch of customers come in and they started placing more and more orders? Is that a killer product? What was that viral hook for your brand?
We went viral multiple times, and I think multiple times because of multiple things. So one, I'll probably give you like two three instances. So maybe from recent, most recent to like earlier. So the most recent one was we have done this campaign. But what we've realized is, so a lot of people want to use these science-based products, but they're very very scared around. Will it give me any side reaction, right? Because it's more like people are so used to using natural and everything, so they are not very convinced about it. So we actually claim that our products are very beginner friendly, very gentle, while being effective. That's what we claim. So I was like, I come to the office. I told them, like, guys, like, we have to prove this. Like, if we are we confident about it, first of all? So our product team was like, oh, we are very confident about it. We have never gotten customer complaints. So I was like, okay, then let's do this. Why can't we just do a money back guarantee for anyone who faces any irritation if we are so sure of our products being genuine?
Yeah,
And we have
I've seen that.
and we've done that, and you see a sudden spike in sale. For me it is two things, right? One, I'm getting sale, but second, my brand is getting built. Like, that confidence which people are showing on the brand was immense, and we saw a spike there happen. I think that was one of the recent things. Like, it was very risky. Like, a lot of people were like, are you sure you want to go with something like this? So, and then we do usually, and we wanted to do this, that we want to resolve these problems in, like, we try to resolve it, like, and make sure that the money is going to the customer in like a week's time. Because otherwise, you see that negative reviews in this online world, it's very easy, right? So that's the reason you don't see any negative reviews also कि मेरे लिए brand काम नहीं किया, but brand ने पैसा वापस नहीं किया. मतलब those kind of things we want to avoid, and so we make sure that we process it. We've set on processes also like that and all of that. So that was one of the ways, times, I guess, like, we've done a marketing campaign and went very viral, and I was very happy because I think most happiest thing for me was because products are good. There is actually, like, there are very few people who are coming back, and we are not losing money as well. So
So let's say out of 100, let's say you got 100 order today. So कित्तों का money back हुआ था?
actually काफी कम भाई, तो that's what I'm saying, 2.5 to 3% maybe.
That's amazing. That's really great, because what happened is a lot of e-commerce brand, D2C brands are afraid about one thing, that is return. That is the biggest thing that they're struggling, and a lot of brands are running away from it. They're taking prepaid orders, so they kind of like they have a bad relationship with this return and the COD thing in Indian market. And you crack the code, amazing. Like you didn't run away, and then you just like
Let's see that. Yeah, exactly. The point is, it depends on how you look at the consumers. I don't think the consumers are sitting there to fleece your money. Especially when they give you bad reviews and all of that also. It's, you have to take it as a lesson, like, मतलब ठीक है, उनके लिए inconvenience create किए हो. So how do we ensure कि this kind of thing doesn't come back again? So that's how we look at even bad reviews and negative reviews, and when people come to us for any of it. So that attitude internally also, like, puts us in a different position. Otherwise, you know thak jayenge log if they don't look at it from this perspective. So I think, for us, like, just be positive about consumers. We trust them, and that works.
great. So, what do you think? So, this one thing that a lot of brands are currently doing, right? So, every single brand want the sales to be happening from their own website. That's a great thing. You have leverage, right? You get the customer data. You can do any kind of campaigning that you want to, right? But still, if you look at what's your pie chart look like, You are also on marketplaces, like you're on Amazon, Flipkart, and other marketplaces. So what's the pie chart? Like what's the pie chart of revenue? Like 50% is coming from your website. So what's the stats? And what do you think so? What's the role marketplaces are doing in your business as well?
Correct. So I think this entire term of D2C, right, which is direct to consumer, is basically selling through your own website. Um, but what we are doing is we are building a brand. So I think first that has to be separated out, D2C versus a brand. So and depending on the scale, wherever you are, you will have to decide you want to build your distribution through D2C, or you want to build brand identity and make yourself a stronger brand. So I think every brand has to go through that cycle, and right now we are in that cycle कि हम strong brand build करेंगे जहाँ पे भी हम कंज्यूमर को, मतलब जैसे भी हम पहुंच रहे हैं कंज्यूमर को, either through our website directly to the consumer or through our marketplace, it doesn't matter. हमें ब्रांड बनाना है और हमें अच्छा ब्रांड बनाना है, तो एट दिस पॉइंट इन टाइम हमारा कॉन्सेंट्रेशन है ब्रांड बनाने का. That's exactly how I would like to put this. Of course, matlab, you ask me the numbers, I'll tell you the numbers, but I think this is the biggest difference, and we have very internally consciously taken a call. We are a brand, and then we will later become a D2C brand.
Great. Like never thought of like how you develop this psychology. कहाँ से idea आया
I mean,
to follow this cycle?
no, it is basically, see, especially when you will think of strategies, when you have limited money, like, you will have to see,
Hmm.
because marketplaces क्या कर रहा है, at the end of the distribution provide कर रहा है, right? So,
Hmm.
and so marketplaces के through कम marketing से you can reach the consumer. But if it's your own D2C, then थोड़ा ज़्यादा लगाना पड़ता है उसमें. So from a P&L perspective, your marketplaces are more profitable. So I would rather
Amazing.
sell there, continue investing this money into more of brand building and creating a distinction and identity for your brand, because that actually stays long term. And then tomorrow, right, you raise more funds, then you build your own distribution.
Great. So what do you think? So this 2024, how many products you have to plan to launch? I'm not going to ask it for 5 years. I'm going to ask for next 365 days. That's it. So कितने और products आने वाले हैं? कितनी और categories आने वाली है?
So, uh, so Deconstruct started off like a skincare brand. And then, as I said, right, for the knowledge economy consumer. So, knowledge economy consumer is always seeking evidence कि प्रोडक्ट काम करेगा कि नहीं करेगा, और हम एविडेंस दिखा सकते हैं कि नहीं दिखा सकते हैं, एंड दैट्स आवर एक्सपर्टीज और कोर एरिया. सो वी विल बी इन दैट एरिया ओनली, विच एवर पार्ट ऑफ द बॉडी वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. So we started off with face skincare. We moved to body skincare as well. We launched some SKUs there. We now actually launched hair care. So, and we are seeing, we are getting very very good you know consumer attention for hair care, because there are not many brands in hair care which is actually giving those evidence based. मतलब एंटी डैंड्रफ और बोल रहा है, बट seriously dandruff तो नहीं जाता है in from your shampoos and stuff like that. You need a little bit more potent product, different sort of philosophy and chemistry around the product. So that is something we are planning to build on. Go a little, like right now we are very positive about evidence based brands in hair care, and that's where we want to go a little more deep. And that's where we are planning to, I would say, like not from number of SKUs, but our core concentration area would be that for the next 1 year.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Malini, being on Modernizing Biz podcast. It was lovely chatting with you. Hope you also enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Love the conversation. Thank you so much, Manish, for this opportunity.